Commander Alan Wright stood on the bridge of the Earth Defense Force flagship, Resolute, watching space unfold before him through the massive viewscreen. The stars seemed colder today as he waited for the Zulaxian ambassador to arrive. The diplomatic chamber had been prepared hours ago, but the aliens were late, a calculated insult that Alan noted without surprise. "They're approaching now, sir," said Lieutenant Vanessa Chen, her eyes fixed on the sensor readouts. "One diplomatic vessel with standard escort formation." Alan nodded. "Standard protocol, Lieutenant. Let them dock and escort the ambassador to the chamber." The Resolute hummed quietly around him as he straightened his uniform. Today's meeting would change everything. After centuries of humanity being pushed around by older galactic civilizations, the Earth Defense Council had finally authorized what many had long considered unthinkable. 20 minutes later, Alan entered the negotiation chamber. The Zulaxian ambassador, Krelvox, was already seated, its translucent tentacles pulsing with blue light, a sign of what humans had learned was smug confidence. 4 guards stood behind it, their exoskeletons gleaming under the chamber lights. "Commander Wright," the alien's voice came through the translator with an artificial smoothness. "Your request for this meeting was unusually urgent." Alan took his seat across from the ambassador. "The United Earth government thanks you for your prompt response." 12 of your Earth days is hardly prompt," the ambassador replied. "But we understand that younger species often lack patience." Alan ignored the jab. For 200 years, since humanity had achieved faster-than-light travel, this had been the pattern. Thinly veiled contempt from the older species who viewed humans as upstarts, barely worth acknowledging except when resources were needed or territorial boundaries could be pushed. "I'll be direct, Ambassador," Alan said, activating the display between them. A holographic map appeared, showing a string of human colonies along the Oran Spur. Red markers highlighted 6 settlements. These colonies were raided last month. 2,000 civilians dead. The attackers used Zulaxian weapon signatures. The ambassador's tentacles flickered yellow briefly. Surprise, before returning to confident blue. "Unfortunate. Perhaps pirates acquired our technology. The galaxy is a dangerous place for developing species." Admiral Lisa Reeves, who had been silent until now, leaned forward, her gray eyes fixed on the ambassador with unsettling intensity. "We've heard these excuses before," she said, "from the Morrigan Confederation when they harvested our outer colonies for labor, from the Vex Collective when they abducted humans for genetic material, from your people when you accidentally mined asteroids in our territory." The ambassador's posture stiffened. "Admiral, the Galactic Council has reviewed these claims and found." "The Council," Alan interrupted, "has consistently ruled against human interests for 2 centuries. He pressed a button, changing the display to show a new image. A sleek orbital platform surrounding Earth. "What is this?" the ambassador asked, tentacles now pulsing with flickers of wary orange. "This is the Perseus platform," Alan said. "The first of 12 we've constructed throughout human space. It became operational yesterday." The ambassador's translator emitted a sound like static. What humans had learned was Zulaxian laughter. "A defensive system. Commendable, but the technological gap between our civilizations remains." "This isn't a defensive system," Lisa cut in. "At least, not entirely." Alan slid a data crystal across the table. "This contains footage from our demonstration in the Ta City system last week, an uninhabited region where we tested the platform's capabilities." The ambassador reluctantly placed the crystal into its reader. The hologram changed to show an asteroid field. A small device, barely larger than a shuttle, moved into position. What happened next caused the ambassador's tentacles to flash bright white. Fear. The asteroids began to break apart at the molecular level, disintegrating into clouds of dust within seconds. "Impossible," the ambassador whispered. "This technology is now deployed throughout human space." Alan finished. The United Earth government has authorized me to deliver this message. The era of humanity merely surviving in this galaxy is over. The ambassador's tentacles coiled tightly. This is a violation of Galactic Council Accords. You cannot. We can, and we have, Lisa said firmly. For too long, we've played by rules designed to keep us vulnerable. No more. Ellen stood. We're not declaring war, Ambassador. We're declaring independence from fear. Any further aggression against human worlds will be met with immediate response. Dr. Olivia Grant walked through the underground lab complex, her footsteps echoing on the polished floor. Deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, Project Ascension remained hidden from both ordinary citizens and alien observers. As she approached the main research chamber, she swiped her hand across the security panel, her implanted chip granting immediate access. Inside, rows of medical pods lined the walls. Each contained a volunteer, soldiers, scientists, and civilians who had agreed to become something more than human. Their bodies floated in a clear blue liquid as tiny machines rewrote their genetic code and enhanced their neural pathways. Olivia stopped at the central monitoring station, where her team tracked each subject's progress. The screen showed brain activity far beyond normal human patterns, exactly as she had predicted. Dr. Grant, a deep voice called from behind her. I hope your report contains good news. General Frank Miller had arrived for the weekly briefing. His weathered face showed the strain of recent events, but his eyes remained sharp and focused. Better than good, Olivia replied, gesturing toward the main display screen. The neural enhancements have stabilized across all test subjects. Brain activity is 300% above baseline, yet remains completely controlled. Frank studied the data with a skeptical expression. And the side effects? Minimal, Olivia said, bringing up another set of charts. The early problems with pain sensitivity and emotional regulation have been solved. These subjects can process information at unprecedented speeds without burning out. She guided the general to a specific pod near the center of the room. Inside, a young woman floated peacefully, her eyes closed. Tiny lights pulsed along the implants visible at her temples. This is Subject 42, Karen West, former fighter pilot, Olivia explained. Yesterday, she successfully interfaced with our defense systems simulator and controlled 50 drone ships simultaneously. One human mind coordinating what previously required an entire fleet command structure. Frank's eyebrows rose slightly, the closest he ever came to showing surprise. The Galactic Council said this level of neural enhancement was impossible. They were wrong, Olivia said simply, or they lied to keep us dependent on their technology. Either way, we've achieved it. They moved to another section of the lab where a group of subjects who had completed the enhancement process trained in a large simulation chamber. Through a reinforced window, they watched as men and women moved with impossible speed and precision, their movements fluid like water. They're communicating telepathically, Frank asked, noting how the team operated without speaking. Not quite telepathy, Olivia corrected. More like a direct neural network. They share sensory information and tactical data instantly. In combat situations, they'll function as a single organism with multiple bodies. Frank watched the demonstration for several minutes before asking. And the weaponized applications? Ready for deployment, Olivia confirmed. Each enhanced individual can interface directly with our new defense systems. They can target and control the molecular disruptors with their thoughts alone, making them far more precise than computer-guided systems. She pulled up footage from a recent test. A single enhanced operator sat in a controlled chair, eyes closed. On the screen beside him, a simulation showed enemy ships breaking apart molecule by molecule under his mental command. The Council believes we're preparing for defense, Frank said quietly. They have no idea we're preparing to hunt. Olivia nodded. Phase 2 begins next week. We'll start integrating the enhanced operatives into the fleet. Within 3 months, every major Earth vessel will have at least one enhanced crew member. Frank studied the subjects training in the simulation room. Will they remain human? He asked, his voice unusually hesitant. Olivia understood his concern. They are still themselves, General. We haven't changed who they are, only what they can do. She paused. But they are the first step in human evolution. The question isn't whether they remain human, but whether humanity is ready to become what it was always meant to be. Frank's eyes hardened with resolve. After centuries of being treated as lesser beings, I think we're more than ready. Olivia looked back at her enhanced subjects with pride. Then the galaxy should prepare itself. Evolution's children are about to leave the nest. Captain Paul Davis stood on the bridge of the warship Defiance, his eyes fixed on the tactical display. The massive screen showed the Arcturus system in perfect detail. The Golden Sun, 5 planets, and the contested human colony on Arcturus IV. The display also showed 12 red dots hovering above the colony world, Morrigan warships that had arrived 3 days ago. "Status report," Paul ordered, his voice calm despite the tension filling the bridge. Lieutenant John Harris responded immediately from the sensor station. "Morrigan forces have landed on the southern continent, sir. They've destroyed 3 settlement centers already." He paused, swallowing hard. "We're receiving distress calls from the remaining colonies." Paul nodded grimly. This was not the first time the Morrigan had violated their peace treaties. The squid-like aliens had been raiding human settlements for decades, always with the same excuse: navigational errors or claims that the territories were disputed. "Open a channel to the Morrigan fleet," Paul ordered. Communications Officer Kate Wilson's fingers moved across her console. "Channel open, Captain." Paul straightened his uniform jacket. "Morrigan Command, this is Captain Paul Davis of the Earth Defense Force warship Defiance. You are in violation of the Arcturus Treaty. Withdraw your forces immediately." The main screen flickered, revealing the face of a Morrigan commander: purple skin, 4 yellow eyes, and tentacles that framed its face like a beard. "Captain Davis," the alien's translator produced a buzzing voice. "This is Commander Zex Kerr of the Morrigan Expansion Fleet. We are conducting authorized security operations against illegal settlements." "There is nothing illegal about these colonies," Paul replied. "They were established under the treaty your government signed 5 years ago." The Morrigan commander made a sound that might have been laughter. "Treaties change, Captain. The Galactic Council has reviewed our petition and found merit in our historical claims to this system." Paul felt a familiar anger rising in his chest. The Galactic Council, dominated by older species, had consistently ruled against human interests for centuries. "Withdraw your forces," Paul repeated. "This is your final warning." "Or what?" the Morrigan commander asked. "Your single ship against our fleet. The technological gap between our species remains significant, Captain. I suggest you depart before we consider your presence hostile." The screen went dark as the Morrigan cut the transmission. "They've resumed bombardment of the northern colony," John reported. "Heavy casualties reported." Paul turned to Kate. "Send the emergency authentication code to Earth Command. Request authorization for Protocol Sunbreaker." The bridge fell silent. Everyone knew what that meant. Kate's fingers trembled slightly as she sent the message. For several tense minutes, the bridge crew watched as more red dots appeared on the surface of Arcturus IV, Morrigan landing parties spreading across the colony. Then Kate's console beeped. "Message from Earth Command, Captain. Authentication verified." She looked up, her face pale. "Permission granted to deploy Sunbreaker." Paul took a deep breath. "Tactical. Ring the weapon online." Weapons Officer Greg Matthews nodded. "Sunbreaker system powering up, Captain. Deployment in 30 seconds. On the underside of the Defiance, a small hatch opened. The weapon that emerged was surprisingly small, a sphere no larger than a shuttlecraft. It glowed with a faint blue light as it moved away from the ship and toward the Morrigan fleet. "Weapon deployed," Greg reported. "Awaiting your command." Paul looked once more at the tactical display, watching the destruction being wrought on the human colony below. No more warnings, no more unanswered pleas to the Galactic Council. No more watching humans die while following rules created to keep them weak. Activate Sunbreaker, Paul ordered. Greg pressed his palm against the activation panel. Sunbreaker active. The small sphere pulsed once, then released a wave of energy that was invisible to the naked eye. On the tactical display, the wave spread throughout the Morrigan fleet. For 3 seconds, nothing happened. Then the Morrigan ships began to break apart. Not with explosions or fire, but with silent, inevitable precision. Their hulls, weapons, and systems simply dissolved into clouds of particles as the molecular bonds holding them together were selectively disrupted. In less than 30 seconds, the entire Morrigan fleet had ceased to exist. Target their ground forces, Paul commanded. The sphere pulsed again, directing its energy toward the planet's surface. The red dots representing Morrigan troops vanished one by one. When it was over, Kate turned to the captain, her voice barely above a whisper. Should I inform Earth Command that the deployment was successful? Ambassador Eric Walsh stood alone at the center of the Galactic Council chamber, feeling the weight of 200 alien eyes upon him. The vast, circular room had been designed to intimidate, with rising tiers of seats that forced speakers to crane their necks upward. The representatives of the galaxy's oldest civilizations looked down on him from their elevated positions, a physical reminder of how they viewed humanity's place in the cosmic order. The chamber had erupted into chaos minutes earlier when footage of the Arcturus incident had been shown on the main viewing screens. The complete destruction of the Morrigan fleet had shocked even the most composed council members. Order. The chairperson, a Tellurian elder named Moxferat, slammed his crystalline appendage against the podium. His translucent body glowed with angry red pulses. We will have order in this chamber. Gradually, the shouting subsided. Ambassador Walsh remained perfectly still, his expression calm despite the hostile atmosphere. The human delegation will explain this unprovoked act of aggression, the chairperson demanded. This technology clearly violates the Council's restrictions on weapons of mass destruction. Eric allowed himself a small smile. Chairperson, distinguished representatives, I thank you for convening this emergency session. What you witnessed was not an act of aggression, but a response to repeated violations of our sovereignty. A representative from the Xerian Confederation rose from your seat. Your single ship destroyed 12 Morrigan vessels without warning. This goes beyond any proportional response permitted under Council guidelines. Without warning? Eric raised an eyebrow. For 27 years, the Morrigan have raided human colonies in the Arcturus system. We filed 63 formal complaints with this council. All were dismissed or delayed indefinitely. He pointed to the viewing screen, which now displayed images of destroyed human settlements. These are the remains of New Portland Colony. 2,000 civilians killed last month alone. Where was the council's outrage then? The chairperson's glow intensified. The matter of disputed territories is complex. They were not disputed, Eric interrupted. They were recognized human territories under treaties that the Morrigan themselves signed. Treaties this council witnessed. He looked around the chamber, making eye contact with as many representatives as possible. For millennia, humanity was patient. We absorbed your lessons, adapted to your rules, endured your contempt. We believed in coexistence. This technology, a Draxian elder hissed from the upper tier, violates every principle of galactic law. It cannot be permitted. Eric's smile widened slightly. Interesting. Those same principles didn't seem to apply when human colonies were raided, when our ships disappeared in navigational accidents, when our people were experimented on by your scientists. He reached into his pocket and removed a small silver device, placing it on the central podium. A hologram sprang to life, showing a map of military installations across the galaxy, secret bases that no human should have known about. Gasps echoed through the chamber. The map showed facilities that even most council members weren't aware of. Hidden research stations, weapons development centers, and monitoring outposts targeting human space. How did you obtain this classified information? The chairperson demanded. The same way we developed the Sunbreaker technology, Eric replied calmly. Through human ingenuity that you consistently underestimated. He gestured to the map. For centuries, you've coordinated efforts to contain humanity's growth. You've manipulated our markets, infiltrated our governments, and stolen our resources, all while preaching about galactic harmony. Eric walked slowly around the podium, his voice growing stronger. Let me be clear, this isn't a negotiation. It's a courtesy notice. The age of humanity merely surviving is over. Is this a declaration of war against the Council? The chairperson asked, his voice low and dangerous. No, Eric replied. It's a declaration of independence. We will no longer accept second-class status in this galaxy. We will defend our territories with whatever means necessary. We will respond to aggression with overwhelming force. He pointed to the still-playing footage of the Arcturus incident. The Morrigan learned this lesson first. Who's next depends entirely on your actions. The Tellurian chairperson's glow had dimmed to a worried blue. The Council will need to discuss appropriate responses to this development. Of course, Eric nodded politely. Discuss all you wish. But understand this, while you're talking, we're deploying. The rules have changed, and humanity wrote the new ones. Secretary of Defense Natalie Rivera walked across the stage of the Geneva complex, her footsteps echoing in the momentary silence. The massive chamber housed all 500 members of the United Earth Congress, along with diplomatic representatives from every human colony. The room was packed beyond capacity, with people standing in the aisles and along the walls. She reached the podium and gazed out at the sea of faces. Beyond the physical audience, she knew that billions more were watching the live stream across Earth and its colonies. This would be the most viewed address in human history. Representatives of humanity, she began, her voice steady and clear. 3 days ago, our forces at Arcturus responded to an attack on our colonies. The response was swift and final. No human lives were lost in the counterattack. On the enormous screens behind her, footage played showing the Morrigan ships dissolving into clouds of particles. The audience watched in stunned silence. For too long, we've been forced to play by rules designed to keep us vulnerable, Natalie continued. Rules created by species who achieved space travel thousands of years before us. Rules that always seem to work against human interests. She pressed a button on the podium, changing the display to show a timeline of attacks on human colonies over the past century. Red dots appeared across human space, each representing an attack that had gone unpunished. In the past 100 years, we have lost 17 colonies and over 3 million lives to raids, navigational errors, and resource theft. Each time, we filed complaints with the Galactic Council. Each time, those complaints were ignored or dismissed. Natalie paused, looking directly into the camera. Today, we're implementing the Phoenix Protocol. No human world will ever again be threatened without devastating response. The chamber erupted in applause. When it finally quieted, she continued. Phase 1 is already complete. The Sunbreaker technology has been deployed throughout human space. Any hostile force entering our territory will face immediate molecular disruption. The screens changed to show Earth's orbit, where sleek new ships moved into formation. Unlike the bulky vessels of other species, these craft were elegant and streamlined. Phase 2 begins today. Our new fleet, integrated with enhanced human pilots, will establish a permanent defensive perimeter around all human worlds. The camera zoomed in on one of the ships, showing its pilot, a woman with small implants visible at her temples. Through these neural interfaces, she controlled her vessel as if it were part of her own body. These ships represent a new era in human development. Each one is bonded directly to its pilot through technology developed here on Earth. They move as one, think as one. From the front row, Representative Sam Nichols stood up. His face showed both awe and concern. Madam Secretary, are we declaring war on the galaxy? The chamber fell silent as everyone awaited her answer. No, Representative Nichols. Natalie replied firmly. We're declaring independence from fear. She turned back to the wider audience. For centuries, we've asked for fair treatment. We've followed the rules set by older civilizations. We've trusted in a system that was designed to keep us weak. The screens changed again, showing the Arcturus colony now being rebuilt, with defense platforms hovering protectively overhead. Those days are over. We will defend what is ours. We will expand where we choose. We will trade with those who respect us and isolate those who don't. Natalie leaned forward slightly, her expression intense. The Galactic Council has called for sanctions against Earth for our actions at Arcturus. They believe they can starve us into submission, as they've done to other young species. She smiled for the first time. What they don't understand is that humans thrive under pressure. We've spent the last 50 years preparing for this moment, developing technologies they can't imagine and forging alliances they don't know about. The final image appeared on the screens, a map of the galaxy with human territory highlighted in blue. It was small compared to the vast empires of older species, but it glowed with a fierce intensity. The Phoenix Protocol isn't just about defense, Natalie concluded. It's about humanity finally claiming its rightful place among the stars. Not as beggars or victims, but as equals who demand respect. She looked out at the representatives one last time. The vote before you today is simple. Do we continue as we have been, hoping for fairness that will never come? Or do we stand together and show the galaxy that humanity's time has arrived? The answer came in a standing ovation that lasted for nearly 10 minutes. The message was clear. Humanity was done merely surviving. Major Ryan Cooper moved silently through the dark corridor of the abandoned mining facility. The structure was built into the southern ice fields of Europa, Jupiter's moon. His enhanced vision allowed him to see clearly despite the near-total darkness. Behind him, 5 other members of Special Operations Team Delta spread out in perfect formation, each covering a different angle. Movement ahead. Lieutenant Diana Wells communicated directly into Ryan's mind through their neural link. No sound passed her lips. The team's neural implants allowed them to share thoughts, sensations, and tactical information instantly. Ryan nodded slightly. I sensed them too. 12 signatures, main chamber, heavily armed. The 6-person team had been tracking the Vex Collective for months. This alien smuggling ring had been abducting humans from outer colonies for years, harvesting genetic material and selling it on the black market. The Galactic Council had repeatedly dismissed human complaints about these activities, claiming lack of evidence. Today, that would end. Active signatures ahead, Diana added through their link. They don't know we're here. Ryan signaled the team to take position around the main chamber entrance. Each member moved with inhuman grace and speed, their enhanced physiology allowing them to process information faster than unmodified humans. Sergeant Ben Wilson touched the sealed door, his enhanced senses analyzing its composition. Standard lock. I can bypass it. Do it, Ryan ordered mentally. Strike pattern Epsilon. Ben placed his palm against the control panel. Nanites in his bloodstream interfaced with the alien technology, forcing the security system to reset. The door slid open with a soft hiss. Inside the chamber, 12 members of the Vex Collective were gathered around examination tables. 3 human captives lay unconscious on the tables, with extraction equipment positioned above them. The aliens, insectoid creatures with 4 arms and chitinous exoskeletons, turned in surprise as the door opened. The team moved before the aliens could react. Ryan leaped across the room with impossible speed, covering 20 meters in less than a second. He struck the lead alien with calculated force, disabling it without killing it. Around him, his team did the same with the others. The Vex were confused by the attack. They had expected ordinary humans, soft targets they had been capturing for years. Instead, they faced something new, humans who had evolved beyond their understanding. What are you? One of the aliens hissed as Ryan pinned it against the wall. The future, Ryan replied simply. Within 40 seconds, all 12 smugglers were secured. The team moved quickly to help the human captives, disconnecting them from the extraction equipment. "They'll live," Medical Officer Jack Peterson reported after scanning the victims. "Minor cellular damage, but nothing permanent." Ryan nodded and turned his attention to the alien leader. "You've been taking our people for years. That ends today." The alien's compound eyes reflected fear. "We have protection." "The Council." "The Council can't help you anymore," Ryan interrupted. "Things have changed." He gestured around the room where his team was already downloading data from the alien computers. "We're gathering evidence of every abduction, every sale, every client who purchased human genetic material. By tomorrow, this information will be broadcast across all frequencies." As the team secured the facility, a message arrived from command directly into Ryan's mind. Similar operations were underway across 12 systems. Vex collective bases were being raided simultaneously by enhanced human teams. "Major, you need to see this," Diana called from a side room. Ryan followed her voice and found something unexpected: a laboratory filled with stasis pods. Each contained a human-alien hybrid, clearly experiments using the stolen genetic material. "Document everything," Ryan ordered, his voice tight with controlled anger. "This is going straight to the Council representatives." 2 hours later, the team loaded the rescued humans and captured aliens onto their stealth transport. As they prepared to leave, Ryan took one last look at the facility before activating the localized disruptor field. The structure began to break apart at the molecular level, leaving no trace of the horrors it had contained. In orbit, Lieutenant Diana Wells joined him on the transport's bridge. "Command confirms all 12 operations were successful. Over 300 humans rescued, 87 Vex operatives captured." Ryan nodded, watching Europa's icy surface through the view screen. And the message. Admiral Lisa Reeves stood on the observation deck of Earth's orbital headquarters, her gaze fixed on the blue-green planet below. After 30 years of military service, she still found the view breathtaking. But today, her attention was focused on the fleet of alien vessels that had arrived in response to Earth's summons. Representatives from every major galactic power had been ordered to attend this demonstration. Their ships hung in space at a respectful distance, Zulaxian cruisers with their crystalline hulls, the organic vessels of the Tellurian Concordat, the massive dreadnoughts of the Draxian Empire, and dozens more. "They're all here," Commander Jeff Bradley reported, joining her at the viewport. "Some tried to send lower-ranking officials, but we insisted on senior representatives as requested." Lisa nodded. "And our systems. All stations report ready, Admiral." She turned to face the delegation chamber behind her. 20 alien representatives stood uncomfortably in the Earth facility, their postures and expressions ranging from curiosity to barely concealed hostility. They represented civilizations thousands of years older than humanity's brief venture into space. "It's time," Lisa said, stepping toward them. The chamber fell silent as she took her position at the center of the room. An automated translation system would ensure every word was understood by all present. 5 years ago, Lisa began, a human warship deployed new technology during the Arcturus incident. Since then, many of your governments have attempted to develop countermeasures or sanctions against us. She gestured to the large display screen showing Earth and the surrounding space. Your civilizations have existed for thousands of years longer than ours. You believe this gave you the right to determine our place, to limit our potential, to use us. Several of the delegates shifted uneasily. A Zulaxian representative stepped forward. "Admiral, if this meeting is merely to issue threats—" "Not threats," Lisa interrupted. "Clarity." She pressed a control on her wrist device. Outside, beyond the viewport, something massive began to appear. A network of satellites, previously hidden by advanced cloaking technology, became visible in orbit around Earth. "For the past 5 years, while you've been planning how to contain us, we've been building," Lisa continued. "Today, you will witness the completion of the Shield of Sol." On her command, the massive array surrounding Earth's solar system activated. Thousands of satellites linked together, creating a web of energy that spread outward from Earth to encompass the entire system. The display screen showed the shield forming, a protective barrier unlike anything seen before. Impossible, a Draxian representative hissed. This technology requires energy output beyond planetary civilization capacity. Lisa smiled slightly. What you believe to be impossible has never concerned us. The shield continued to expand until it had created a perfect sphere around the solar system. Inside this boundary, all human worlds, Earth, Mars, the moon colonies, and the settlements throughout the asteroid belt, were now enclosed in a protective field. This shield can be configured in multiple ways, Lisa explained. It can be permeable, allowing approved ships to pass while blocking others. It can be completely solid, preventing any matter from entering or exiting. Or, she paused, meeting the eyes of each representative in turn. It can be weaponized, extending the molecular disruption effect we demonstrated at Arcturus to any point within its range. A stunned silence fell over the chamber. We are not declaring ourselves your enemies, Lisa continued. But understand this clearly. The era of survival is over. We will not merely exist in your galaxy. We will thrive in it. Any force that threatens human life will be extinguished. Any civilization that respects our boundaries will find an ally unlike any other. She walked to the viewport, gazing at Earth. From this distance, the continents were clearly visible against the blue oceans. Beautiful, fragile, and now untouchable. Some of you wonder why we've revealed this technology rather than keeping it secret, Lisa said. The answer is simple. Secrecy breeds fear, and fear leads to conflict. We want peace, but peace built on mutual respect, not on exploitation. Lisa turned back to face the delegation. Return to your governments with this message. Humanity extends its hand in friendship to those who accept us as equals. To those who cannot accept this new reality, we offer only one warning. Keep your distance. 10 years after the deployment of the Shield of Sol, Captain Emma Collins stood on the bridge of the exploration vessel Pioneer. Her ship hovered at the edge of uncharted space, further from Earth than any human vessel had ventured before. The region had been avoided by most galactic civilizations due to strange energy readings and unexplained disappearances. Final system checks complete. Captain, First Officer Andy Martinez reported from his station. All enhanced crew members are linked and ready. Emma nodded, feeling the familiar tingle of her neural implants activating. Unlike the military vessels that guarded human space, the Pioneer was built for discovery. Its crew of 40 included 20 enhanced humans, whose neural networks allowed them to extend their senses beyond the ship's hull. Thank you, Andy. Let's proceed. She closed her eyes briefly, connecting with the ship's systems. Through this link, she could feel the Pioneer as if it were an extension of her own body. Its sensors became her eyes, its hull her skin. Energy patterns unchanged. Science Officer Lydia Bowen announced, her hands moving across her control panel. Still can't identify the source. The mysterious energy field had been detected 3 months earlier by Earth's long-range scanners. After the Shield of Sol had secured human space, humanity had turned its attention outward. New technologies and enhanced human abilities had accelerated exploration efforts dramatically. Emma stepped forward, studying the view screen. Let's move closer. Quarter thrust. The Pioneer glided forward into the energy field. As they penetrated deeper, the sensors detected something massive taking shape ahead of them. Structure detected, Lydia reported, excitement evident in her voice. It's enormous. Artificial construction, approximately 300 kilometers in diameter. The view screen adjusted to show a massive ring-shaped object floating in space. Its surface was covered with intricate patterns that pulsed with soft blue light. Unlike anything built by known civilizations, the structure seemed to bend the space around it. Is it a weapon? Andy asked, voicing the concern that had become instinctive for humans after centuries of exploitation. Emma shook her head. I don't think so. The energy signature doesn't match any known weapons technology. She paused, focusing her enhanced perception. It feels older, much older than anything we've encountered. As the Pioneer moved closer, the ring began to rotate slowly. At its center, space itself seemed to warp and twist. Captain, Communications Officer Jason Reed called out, "We're receiving a signal. It's unlike anything in our database." Emma felt a strange sensation in her mind, not words exactly, but concepts forming directly in her consciousness. The other enhanced crew members felt it too, their neural networks lighting up with activity. "It's communicating directly with our neural interfaces," Lydia said in wonder, "bypassing our technology completely." Emma concentrated on the incoming information. Images and ideas flowed into her mind. Stars being born, civilizations rising and falling, and a network of ring structures scattered throughout the galaxy. "It's a gateway," she said finally, understanding dawning. "Part of an ancient transportation network built by a species that left our galaxy millions of years ago." The knowledge continued to flow. The rings had been abandoned when their creators transcended physical form, leaving the network dormant until a civilization capable of interfacing with it emerged. They were waiting for someone who could communicate directly with the technology, Emma realized. Species with neural capabilities similar to our enhanced systems. Andy looked at her with wide eyes. "Are you saying this technology was waiting for humans?" "Not specifically for us," Emma replied, still processing the stream of information. "But for any species that developed this particular type of neural evolution. The Galactic Council races chose different paths, biological or technological advancement without neural integration." The ring's rotation increased, and the center began to glow brighter. The ship's sensors detected a stable wormhole forming at its core, a passage to another ring thousands of light years away. "It's offering us access to the network," Emma said, a sense of awe filling her. "Hundreds of gateways throughout the galaxy, some reaching places even the oldest council races haven't explored." She turned to face her crew, seeing the same excitement reflected in their faces that she felt herself. 10 years ago, humanity declared we were done merely surviving. We promised to begin living, to claim our place in the galaxy. Emma gestured toward the ancient gateway gleaming before them. "I think we've just been handed the keys to a much larger home than anyone imagined."